It started as a whisper in the tech community, a rumor that something was terribly wrong at Yahoo, one of the world's most trusted internet giants. By the time the story broke, the scale was unimaginable. 3 billion accounts, every username, email address, password, and personal detail, exposed, stolen, floating in the shadowy corners of the internet. For most people, Yahoo had been a harmless relic, a gateway to news, email, and nostalgia. But for millions, this breach would become a nightmare they didn't even know they were living. Marissa Lark, a cybersecurity analyst in San Francisco, first noticed the anomalies while combing through a dump of leaked credentials on a dark web forum. She had seen breaches before: Target, Equifax, LinkedIn, but nothing like this. The sheer size alone made her stomach knot. "This isn't just a leak," she whispered into her headset, the blue glow of her monitors casting shadows across her tired face. "This is an apocalypse for privacy." Her fingers flew over the keyboard, tracing the origins, trying to connect the dots. But the evidence was messy, scattered across servers and encrypted in ways that seemed almost designed to frustrate detection. Meanwhile, inside Yahoo's headquarters in Sunnyvale, California, panic was quietly simmering. Bob Lord, the chief information security officer, had only recently joined the company. He walked briskly through the glass-walled offices, a black leather portfolio clutched tightly in his hand. Staff avoided eye contact, sensing the storm that had already begun to build. "We need to be proactive," Lord said in a meeting with the senior team, his voice steady but carrying the weight of urgency. "This isn't just another hack. This is the biggest in history." The room went silent, the gravity of the admission sinking in. Outside the walls of corporate control, ordinary users began noticing strange activity. Accounts that hadn't been accessed in years suddenly received login alerts from unfamiliar devices. Some discovered that their secondary emails had been changed, their bank accounts linked in ways they had never authorized. Jessica Nguyen, a 32-year-old freelance writer in Austin, Texas, was one of the first to experience the personal impact. "I got an email saying my account had been compromised," she recalled. "I thought it was a scam, but then my social media started acting weird, posts disappearing, messages sent that I never typed. I realized it wasn't just me. It was Yahoo." For the hackers, the operation was meticulous. They weren't looking for immediate chaos. They were mining a digital goldmine, harvesting data to sell, to exploit, to weaponize. The breach, they would later admit under pressure from investigators, had been orchestrated over years. It started with phishing attacks, subtle social engineering, and network infiltration, all pointing to a carefully constructed campaign that few inside Yahoo had detected. A former engineer who spoke anonymously described it as a slow bleed, like watching water drip into a bucket without noticing it until it overflows. Federal investigators joined the chase, led by the FBI's Cybercrimes Division. Agent Ryan Martinez, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for dogged persistence, pored over terabytes of log files, tracing IP addresses, correlating timestamps, and piecing together the hackers' footprints. The scale was daunting, Martinez later explained. "We're talking about billions of users, millions of data points, all interlinked across continents. It wasn't just a breach, it was a crime scene that spanned the globe." Evidence began to surface. Logs revealed an attacker using VPNs to mask locations in Russia and Ukraine, while insiders in Yahoo struggled with internal alarms that had been ignored or mismanaged. There was tension, too, within the investigative teams. Some argued that Yahoo had delayed reporting the breach to avoid panic, while others insisted that the delay had made tracking the culprits more difficult. "Every day counts in cases like this," Martinez said. "A delay isn't just time lost. It's evidence lost." As the story unfolded publicly, Yahoo admitted that the breach had actually occurred in stages, beginning in 2013, long before anyone realized. Marissa Lark, who had been tracking the dump, posted warnings online, urging users to change passwords and enable two-factor authentication. The advice was sound, but the scale of the problem was overwhelming. 3 billion accounts meant billions of lives potentially affected, emails, personal conversations, financial data, all laid bare. Courtroom drama followed years later when U.S. authorities finally managed to track the individuals responsible. A coordinated international effort resulted in indictments against a group of hackers, some tied to state-sponsored operations, others purely criminal. The courtroom was tense as prosecutors laid out the timeline of infiltration, the careful planning, the deception, and the massive human impact. Victims testified about financial losses, identity theft, and the emotional toll of feeling violated by an entity they had trusted. "It was my private life," Jessica Nguyen said under oath, her voice quivering. "All of it exposed. I felt powerless." The hackers' defense was minimal, often claiming they had acted in the interest of research or for political motives, but the evidence was overwhelming. Digital footprints, intercepted communications, bank transfers tracing profits from the sale of stolen credentials. Every expert testimony reinforced the enormity of the crime, the unprecedented scale, and the sophistication behind it. Yahoo, meanwhile, faced class action lawsuits from millions of users, some seeking compensation, others demanding stricter privacy measures. Marissa Lark continued to work in cybersecurity, her warnings echoing through media interviews. "This isn't just about Yahoo," she said. "This is about the vulnerability of every platform we rely on. It's about understanding that our digital lives are never as private as we think." The climax came when one of the primary hackers, a man living anonymously in Eastern Europe, agreed to cooperate with authorities. His confession revealed a chilling detail. The breach had been planned not just for profit, but to map the digital identities of nearly half of the world's Internet users. He described meticulously assembling data to sell in bulk, noting the patterns of human behavior encoded in emails, passwords, and personal messages. "We knew everything about everyone," he admitted. "Names, birthdays, passwords. They weren't just numbers. They were lives." By the time the case closed, Yahoo had paid billions in settlements and revamped its security protocols, but the lesson lingered far beyond corporate walls. Every user who relied on Yahoo, every person who trusted their data to a service had been reminded of a harsh truth. Nothing online is truly safe. Digital trust, once breached, cannot easily be repaired, and for billions of people the impact was permanent. In the aftermath, analysts like Marissa Lark documented the breach as a cautionary tale, a warning for both corporations and individuals. Experts testified in congressional hearings, advocating for stronger privacy protections, tighter cybersecurity measures, and legislation that could hold companies accountable for failing to safeguard sensitive information. The narrative of Yahoo's massive breach became more than just a story about a company. It became a story about a Generation S vulnerability in a hyper-connected world. And yet, even with the hackers caught, the courts concluded, and the settlements paid, one question remained unanswered. How many identities would continue to be exploited, quietly, without anyone noticing? The digital shadows stretched further than anyone could track, a haunting reminder that 3 billion lives had been touched by a single, calculated act of theft. Jessica Nguyen deleted her old Yahoo account for good. Marissa Lark shifted focus to a new cybersecurity firm, but she never stopped warning the public. "It's not paranoia," she said. "It's reality. The Internet remembers everything, and not everyone who remembers has good intentions." The story of Yahoo's breach was taught in business schools, cybersecurity courses, and law enforcement seminars. It was a case study in failure, in vulnerability, and in the terrifying power of human curiosity exploited for profit. And even now, years later, traces of those stolen accounts continue to circulate in the dark corners of the web, a silent echo of one of the largest digital crimes in history. 3 billion accounts, 3 billion people, and a breach that changed the way the world thought about privacy forever. If stories like this keep you hooked, hit subscribe for more.